Welcome to the June 8th meeting of the Addison Township Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to start with a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Seeing as how we have a fairly good audience tonight, I'd request that everybody disarm your cell phones, at least the ringer, so we don't have any interruptions. Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Sheriff Hatfield.
Here.
Vice Chair Smith.
Here.
Trevor Hayward.
Here.
Tony Spina.
Here.
Eric Senn.
Here.
Robert Witt.
Here. Okay. We have a full complement here tonight. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Anybody have any requested changes to the agenda as presented?
Are we going to rearrange some of these cases? I think we should make agenda item number 4, agenda item number 2. 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4.
It's been moved to agenda item number 4 to
Item 2.
item 2, and
Everything else moves down.
okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll support that.
Okay. Any discussion? Comments? Whatever?
Good.
Okay. All right, all in favor of amending the agenda as requested, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Get that agenda item number 4 be moved to,
42.
4-2.
That's the score.
And 3 would stay last. You're correct the way you presented it. Next item is approval of the minutes from May 11th. Everybody has a copy, I think. Are there any corrections or comments on the minutes as published? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve. Second. With a second. We have a roll call vote, please.
Eric Senn.
Yes.
Tony Spina.
Yes.
Trevor Hayward.
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith.
Yes.
Chair Hatfield.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. The May 11th minutes are now a matter of public record. Okay. So item number 2 is now case 17-04. The applicant is Donald Powell. Is Mr. Powell in attendance tonight? All right, let me read this into the record here. Did I get the right piece of paper? Mr. Powell, the property address is 640 Brewer. Parcel ID is 0535200071. Zoning is R2 or residential 2. Applicant seeks a variance from the Township of Addison Code of Ordinances Appendix A, Addison Township Zoning Ordinance. Applicant requests 2-foot variance in height and a 260-foot square foot variance for the size of an accessory building from Article 4, Section 4.21, number 3, A and D. Would you like to present your case, Mr. Powell?
Well, I bought the piece of property, and it was actually two pieces of property, and we combined them so that we could actually put the barn on. We've recently getting ready to retire, and we're downsizing our house. Our house now that we live in is 5,400 square feet. This one here is going to be 1,680. The barn that I have right now is 50 by 60. We're downsizing a lot of stuff, getting rid of stuff that we don't need. The barn that I'm trying to build is 40 by 44. The 16-foot in E-pipe that I need is for our fifth wheel to go in the garage that we have now. The square footage is what I need to put that fifth wheel and the garden equipment and the boat in the barn so that everything is combined inside.
And the practical difficulty that you experience as you want to relieve with the variance is to be able to store all your things. Yeah?
Right. We've already downsized and got rid of a lot of stuff, so we didn't need a barn 50 by 60, but I need that square footage to put the stuff in that we have to keep.
Okay, there was a misinterpretation, I understand, and I've got a letter from our township inspector, building official, that says the requested height of the barn is a 16-foot sidewall, not a 16-foot building height. The actual building height, which per definition is a vertical distance from the established grade to the mean height level between the eaves and the ridge of the gable, it would actually be 19 and a half feet is what would be the official building height for what you're proposing.
Right.
The ordinance limit is 14 feet for the average height. So you would need a variance of 5.5 feet rather than 2 feet.
And 260 square feet.
Right. That, we've decided that since the public notice was given as to be a 2-foot height variance, we're going to proceed with the public forum tonight on your case, and we'll repost with the corrected information for the July meeting, have another public forum available, so it will be given public notice, and we can still be able to decide on your case next month.
Okay.
So, just for the edification of anybody here. But we will proceed with gathering what information we can. Okay, let me get my things in order here. Going to open a public hearing here, and this is a public hearing where the ZBA will listen to your comments and questions. Please direct comments to the board. I would like the applicant to make notes of any questions that have been presented. And we or the applicant will address any questions at the close of the public hearing. Okay, we'll open the public hearing at 6:08 p.m. Anybody here to address the variance request for Mr. Powell on Brewer Road? I see no hands going up. Okay. All right.
Excuse me.
At 6:09, we'll close the public hearing.
Sir,
John,
No, I'm sorry, we've got one. Yes, sir.
I just only have one question.
Please state your name, please, sir.
My name is Jack Thompson, or John formerly,
Yes.
and I live at 750 Brewer. And I just want to know if it's just going to be for his own personal use and not for like a business, that's all.
Okay. All right. Anybody else in the audience here? Don't be shy. Yes, sir.
Gary Gower, 570 Manhattan. The height increase, it's not restricting the view of anybody or harming anybody else in the neighborhood, where they may be knocking down a view of something else that you're aware of?
That's something we'll have to address. But, you know, your question is registered. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Public hearing is closed at 6:10. Would you like to address a question?
It's personal use only,
Okay.
address says, and the barn is actually gonna set 9 foot below what my house does right now. It sits down in a hole and it's back by the woods, so there's no obstruction whatsoever. And there's other barns that are next to me at 620 and 610 that are they both had to have variances. One is in front of the house with 12-foot eaves, and the barn is 18 foot high. And the one right next to me, on the piece of property next to me, is 40 by 60, plus there's 2 other buildings on that same piece of property that border my property.
That would be the property just to the east, or to the
That
west
would be
of
the
yours?
property just to the west,
Right, yeah.
just to the west.
I'll open it up for any board questions. Members of the ZBA want to ask Mr. Paul any questions at all?
Well, my practice is to come and after this meeting and before the next meeting to come and look at this property. I haven't done that yet. Any
Absolutely.
problem?
Absolutely.
Do you want to be there when I do that?
Yeah, it's all staked, the barn is staked out, the pad and everything was put in.
Thank you.
I didn't realize when we bought the piece of property that there was restrictions to begin with. I didn't know it was in the R2 district. And otherwise, maybe I would have thought about buying it, but we've been in the township for 47 years now, and I've built all around the area. I own a small construction company, and I've never run into that problem.
Okay.
Never got into the zoning.
Okay.
I guess I got a question. I did look at your location where you have it staked out.
Yep.
What was your reasoning to locate it exactly where it is, the building?
Well, I had to lower it down in the hill because the 16 foot eaves.
Right.
I didn't want it to stick up higher than my house. I wanted it to sit down, and I had to move it up where it was now because the power lines. We have a problem with the power lines going through, so I had to put it in that location because in the back of that location is swamp.
Right, right.
So I had to put it where it was.
Towards the power line, the main power line, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Over in that area, you ever consider that location? So it's more in the trees, so it's out of the way?
No, it's actually got to be out front of the power lines. Detroit Edison told me they had to be 15 feet in front of those power lines from the furthest part of the barn. So that's where I located it. I actually come up 22 feet, so I gave enough variance there. So I didn't really have a lot of, there was 2 1.3 acre parcels, and we combined them to get to 2.6 because I needed a little bit of that second 1.3 to be able to locate that barn on this side of the power line.
Okay. And the other question I have is, you did state for the record, based on the question of your neighbor, this will be non-commercial, this is residential
Non-commercial,
property.
strictly residential.
That's all I have.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have one. Mr. Powell, is your house 512 pitch as well?
No, my house is 712.
Okay, so it's nice to match the pitch of your house, but you're trying to comply, so you went down to a 512 pitch.
Right, I got down to 512, so it lowered it down, so it would actually be below my house. I didn't want it to stick up over my house.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. All right, anything else you can think of to add right now? Okay. We're going to take this under advisement with your testimony, and we'll be, like I say, we'll be posting, giving a public notice again next month for the meeting on July 13th. And we will have another public forum available at that time to address this. And we expect to be able to render a decision then. So, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item on the hearing is public hearing of case 17-02. Applicant is Verizon. The owner is, property owner is Addison Township. Address is 5020 Hosner Road. Parcel 0505-300-011. Zoning is public institutional, or P1. Applicant seeks a variance from the Township of Addison Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Addison Township zoning ordinance. The applicant requests a variance for the placement of wireless communication facility, a dimensional variance for a lot area of 14.76 acres from the ordinance provisions. Wireless communications facility, Article 4.47, Section 4.B2, the minimum lot size shall be 20 acres. Okay. All right. We have a representative for the applicant here tonight.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
John Green.
Chairman Hatfield, can I just interject for 1 minute?
Good, yeah. Mr. Davis.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Yeah.
Just as a matter of procedure, I want to advise the public that Robert DeWitt sits here this evening on the ZBA as an alternate, and Eric is a general member of the ZBA. Eric also sits on the board of the township. Therefore, procedurally, we're going to have both Eric and Robert sit through the hearing and hear all the testimony on the hearing. However, when it comes time to vote, the vote will be by Robert DeWitt, the alternate, if that's acceptable to the ZBA, which I think procedurally is a good position for the ZBA. The second thing I wanted to remind the public is that ZBA hearings are decisions made on a record. There have been documents already tendered to the ZBA by way of mail into the clerk and otherwise at the township. Those documents will be adopted into the record by reference. I think Mr. Hatfield, as a chairperson, will identify who wrote a letter and the date. We won't make any opinions or draw any conclusions as to what the letter says, but the letter will become part of the record. And the record is always available at the township during the next time period before the next hearing for concerned citizens to read. The next item is that the township, with my counsel back when we were younger, has adopted a position that we don't vote on the matter at the first meeting. It's strictly to gather the information from the applicant who is standing ready to go, and perhaps importantly as well from the public who has testimony to be delivered into the record this evening. And then that gives this board another time period to visit the site, to do additional analysis, and to deliberate and to digest the testimony, and to come back at the next meeting and be prepared for action on the matter. So I want to stress to the public, this is a great process. This is, the ZBA sits as the final relief valve for your community. When people feel that they cannot meet the spirit of the ordinance, they seek variance requests to deviate from the ordinance. And those who are impacted get an opportunity to be heard. So when you're presenting your information, present who you are, present a general description of your address, and bear in mind that everything that you say will be under oath in a manner of speaking, and should be truthful and should be relevant to the topic. This is a hearing, and decisions at this hearing are made only on the record. So we have a presentation by the applicant on the record, we have testimony on the record, we have the ZBA members who will be on the record, and a decision will be made on the record on this variance request, supported by the record in any direction that the decision goes. So it's a great process. I'm glad to see people out, and it's a good thing to be able to come to a local government and be heard. And I look forward to a nice hearing on this. And I know Mr. Hatfield, who learned from the great Mr. Smith how to run a good ZBA meeting, and I think we'll get started on the hearing.
Okay,
Sorry for my lengthy introduction, but
thank
no, I
you.
get paid by the word, right? But that's not on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Appreciate it. Okay. Mr. Crane, would you like to present the case here?
Certainly, Mr. Hatfield. My name is Jonathan Crane. I'm a civil engineer and an attorney, and I practice in Rochester, Michigan. I can be reached by any board member or any member of the audience at my office anytime during business hours at 248-650-8000. If any time during this process you have a question about our project, or you have a question after it's done, or even 2 years down the road regarding our project, please feel free to call me. We will get it to the right person. We'll get you the right answer, or an answer. I'm here tonight on behalf of Verizon Wireless. With me is Mr. Michael Avery. Mike is a senior radio frequency engineer with Verizon Wireless, and he's the man that puts the dot on the map and says find a cell site at this location or as close to it as possible. What we picked is a piece of property at Oakwood and Hosner that is unused and virtually undeveloped, approximately 4.5 acres, and we need a variance as in that zoning district. There's a 20-acre minimum for a cellular tower, a wireless antenna tower. This is not unlike the project that is right in front of your township offices here next to the fire station, or the one that I did a few years ago at Watershed Park to the north up on Rochester Road. We are asking for variances not only in the size of the lot, but in the setback. Your ordinance, for some reason, has increased the setback from the road right of way to 250 feet, from 200 feet, and to the west, to the property lines of 200 feet, and we're approximately 90 feet from the westerly property line. The reasons for this request of the variance in the setbacks is the large wetlands area and the required 25-foot buffer area adjacent to the wetlands required to do that. In addition, the area size of the lot does not meet the 15 or the 20-acre minimum. It is township owned. It is virtually undevelopable, and this innocuous use set 200 feet back from the roadway is an ideal location for Verizon Wireless from an operations standpoint. It's an ideal location for the use of this property that probably could not be used for anything else. And it is being maintained. We are maintaining the woods all along the roadway with the exception of the driveway in and parking spaces to service the cemetery area. We're providing 4 parking spaces adjacent, and then there'll be some steps up into the cemetery area. Currently, there is no parking for the cemetery use immediately adjacent to this site. We believe that this location is the least impacting location in the area. It will have no adverse impacts on the township or its residents. The nearest house, which is to the south, is over 500 feet away from the monopole antenna. To the west, the nearest school building is 295 feet from the antenna structure. The only infrastructure required for this monopole is electricity and fiber cables. There's no sewers, there's no runoff into the wetlands area or sanitary or building runoff. There's no need for gas. We do use electricity and a fiber cable to service the site. That is the only work we're doing. There's no parking requirements once built. It's visited, we tell people, once a month by a van-like vehicle. The reality is it's less frequent than that. Mike will tell you that we have sites that we don't visit for a year, we don't touch for a year. Other than to send our maintenance crews in to mow them or something. This is pretty rural, we're leaving the entire frontage heavily treed and staying the way it is. There's no noise, there's no lighting, it's an unlit pole. There's no garbage collection or refuse. There's no trucks or service using the site. And basically, at that location, set back from the road, in the woods, it will be out of sight and out of mind. We meet all of the township goals of providing service, providing access to the road, and so on, except for the lot size. This is truly the best place for the location of this monopole. We are upgrading our service, Verizon Wireless, from 2G, a second generation wireless, which we did 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
We're upgrading from 3G to 4G.
Yes, we're going up to 4G service to provide the latest and greatest wireless communication. The lower old phones will not function in approximately 24 months. All the new phones that are being sold are the higher generation wireless, and we need this to service the customers, to service the schools, and to service the travelers through the area. If we do not locate an antenna, and there's very poor service out there now, you're going to lose your internet service and your 911 service, as well as your voice and data collection. It may not seem significant, but currently in the United States, 40% of the homes do not have copper service, hardwired telephone service anymore. It seems like all the millennials and the younger generations are using their wireless phones for that. In addition to the growth in the voice communications, the biggest growth area is in the data communications and machine-to-machine location. And we are currently, Verizon Wireless, in the biggest, largest build program in the company's history, and building new monopole antennas, new antennas, and upgrading our system to the latest generation of wireless service. We believe this is a good site. We know it is a safe site. It's remote. It will be gated just beyond the parking area so that cars do not go back there unauthorized. It's providing a service to the community, and we'd like to ask you to consider the variance request. In each of the other monopoles that I mentioned, they are actually closer to the road than this one, with no adverse impacts whatsoever. It's within your capabilities. A dimensional variance, I read some of the letters. Dimensional variance is allowed to be self-created, i.e. we are building on an undersized lot. It is not a problem other than a practical difficulty. We will provide, and have in the past, and will provide the appropriate safety studies and so on. This structure will meet all building codes and all safety standards. The tower does not fall over. In the unlikely event of a failure, they pop up, and that relieves the load and they stay standing. With that, I'll be available to answer any questions. Mr. Avery has done propagation maps and can show you why we are locating at this location. We have also seen some of the letters, and there were ideas to move it a mile to the southwest on a golf course, which is close to an airport or landing strip, and is also closer to our cell sites, and will not meet the coverage requirements of this site. If we located it anywhere, we would want to go just immediately to the north, but this is really the premium spot for our use and our service. We'll answer any questions. Mike is ready to answer any technical questions. You might be appropriate to open the board, and then we'll respond, or whatever the board desires. Thank you.
All right. Does ZBA like to make any comments this time, or would we like to open the public hearing?
Well, I have only one question. The engineering drawings that I've seen do not include any details about the foundation for the tower.
That's correct.
Is that because you haven't done that work yet?
We have not done that work yet. We will, after site plan approval,
Yep.
we will come out with a soil boring crew. They do a 50-foot depth bore, and then we design the foundation. Typical foundation in areas such as this is 30 feet deep with a steel caisson, steel reinforced caisson. But we will provide that. We will also, as part of our structural reviews, provide all that information on the actual tower structure. And as part of your building permit process, if requested by the township, you can send it out to an independent structural engineer. Your typical buildings, this is unusual for a building inspector. We encourage it, and we will pay the costs for that. So you have a third party look at our designs and so on.
Okay, thank
Do
you.
not compromise safety. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to go ahead with the public hearing at this time. After that point, we'll still have time for questions and comments from the zoning board of appeals members. So we're going to open the public hearing at 6:31. I'd like to reiterate that this is a public hearing, so where the ZBA will listen to your comments and questions. Please direct your comments to the board, not to each other. This is where the ZBA will listen to your comments and questions direct. Okay. I would like the applicant and Mr. Davis to please take notes of any questions that come up in the public hearing, and we will address them at the end of the public hearing portion. Okay. Again, this is where we listen to your comments. Public hearing is open. Anybody would like to speak to this topic?
I would.
Please state your name and do so.
Can I come up here, please?
Yeah, please.
Thank you. I have some things to show too. My name is Kara Jane LeBoyne. I am not a member of Addison Township. I am a parent of the school in Kingsbury. I happen to live in Brandon Township. So I've been very concerned about the choice for this particular cell tower, and to be constructed on the township property right next to the Hosmer campus at the Kingsbury School. The only benefit I see for the township is the fact that it is on township property. Therefore, the township will get the rental or whatever financial agreements with it. But the problems will be faced, the ones I'm concerned about at least, by the school. The property is downhill. In fact, less than a half a mile from this property, on our school property across the street, there's a place where the top of the tower will only be 57 feet taller than the ground. So once you start putting those cells, antennas on, they're going to get lower and lower. How is that really helping us? They need to go out. They need to be high. The location of the 197-foot tower in the property, as we now has changed in the variance, is only 90 feet away from the Hosmer School's playground. If the pole were to, I know it's supposed to buckle, but say it was going to fall, tip over, you know, the Titanic was unsinkable, it sunk. And with it being on a soft ground near wetlands, which is why it has to be located there, just if you move it any farther away, you start running into the 25-foot barrier for the wetlands. So, I mean, I understand why you guys picked that particular spot, but it will fall right on our swing set. It'll fall and the antennas itself will take out a merry-go-round, an apple tree that my son likes to climb. These would all be gone because of the antennas. Let's see, as well as when things fly off of it, they'll fly into our major play structure. So, and the kids at this particular building of the school are our kindergartners and first graders. They're not going to know to run. They're going to hear that creaking sound of metal and freeze. Now, the chances of this happening are slim, but the chances of it happening are still there, and I think it's still too high to even take that risk, especially considering I usually see at least 10 or 15 kids around those swing sets. every single time I'm out there for recess. And I am at the school a lot. The cell tower will also stand out drastically. Due to the power of optics and the fact that it's down a hill, and that the thing is gonna, I'm presuming it's gonna look like your one out here, it's gonna stand out like a sore thumb in every single season. I took a picture and I drew where the cell tower will be. You guys are more than welcome to keep these. This picture was taken yesterday morning. What you can't see very well is our swing set is right there. There's 4 swings.
Would you like these entered into the record?
Go right ahead. Sorry, my iPhone did not take a very good picture to be able to see the swing set itself, but it is right there.
Thank you.
You might as well enter this one as well. Where the tower is located, and about 197 feet away from it, how it would fall. If it fell from the base. Now again, this is worst case scenario, but I did go to engineering school a long time ago, mechanical engineering, not civil though. And we did learn that you always engineer and plan for the worst, but of course hope for the best. But it's best to make sure that it's nice and safe. Otherwise you end up with Bouncing Bertha, which is one of my favorite videos in school. I'm sorry. So the cell tower will stand out drastically. Due to the power of optics and the tower being at a lower elevation, it will look much closer to the school than the 90 feet, as well as we'll be having a better view of the actual antennas instead of just the pole. The pole is actually a more preferred view than those antennas. This would become a detraction to new families that are coming to take a tour of the campus. How does having a cell tower practically on top of the school look to parents who are interested in our environmental programs and our no child left inside reputation, especially being that this is for our kindergarten and first graders? Several of these issues were taken into account with the township's current variances, if it was required to be the 200 feet away, and if it was also required to blend in with the trees, then it wouldn't be so much of a big deal. Unfortunately, though, this would put it in the designated wetlands and too close to the property owner on the other side. And this is why parties are requesting a variance that could potentially endanger children's lives as well as negatively affect one of the community's long-term schools. I urge you to vote no for this variance and look for another better location for this particular tower. Now, I do agree that we do need cell service out there. I just don't think that's the right place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
The recording secretary has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you restate your name, please?
Kara Jane LeBoyne. I better. My last name's impossible to spell.
Okay. Next, please.
Well, this is
Your name, please?
my name is Tiffany Sturp. I'm actually a mom of a kindergartner who goes to Kingsbury Country Day School, and it's kind of frightening to me, only because I'll give you kind of I'll introduce myself as far as it's kind of a job that I do, and a lot of it is educating parents, which, you know, I'm really glad you guys are here because education is kind of big for myself and our family. And I don't really want this tower anywhere close to any children. And on top of that, it's parents, and then it's teachers, and then it's the substitute teachers, like a lot of people. But I'm a mom. I'm just gonna kind of read off what I have because then I'll go off. But so I'm a mom, just like a lot of you guys. I help educate parents through anything possible, like shots, cleaning products, anything you think of to harm your child. I step into the home and I educate moms. But I'm also an author, and I've got many friends Dr. Jim Berman, who's wrote amazing books about kids and the effects of cells in your brain, DNA. And then I have Kami Gordon, who is also amazing, and she has written the down-to-earth guide for global warming, which has nothing kind of to do with the cell tower, but it's kind of going into kind of what I do, which is at hospitals. I go and I spend time with kids who have tumors and cancer and all these really bad things. And you don't want to see this. And I know that the towers have to go up, I get that, but not near school. Not near school, not this close. And like, what was your name?
Kara?
Kara said, the cell tower is here, which is great, but our school is on a hill, which the radiation is going to have a very, very bad impact on all the kids. And since they're developing and they have more impact than what us adults do with radioactive activity, like, cell phones and towers and all that. So I go into hospitals and I read books and I create stories to help kids go through their trauma experience. And I don't want to have to now sit there and write books about cell towers and how we could have prevented them if only parents, which I'm really happy you guys are here, and trying to say no and standing up to what is not right. It's just not right. And yes, we need a cell tower, just not so close to the school. So with that said, I lived in California for many years with my husband and small child. We are now faced with another decision. It's going to have to ask, do we stay at the school or do we go? I would really like to stay, but unfortunately, if there's a cell tower, our classes are going to go from 18, 19, 20 kids to 5. Now, that's great education, but who wants to send their kid to school that has a cell tower? It could really do some damage. So, but at the same time, I'm grateful I'm able to come here tonight and express my concern. Now, as parents, teachers in our community, we must give our children and teachers every advantage to be as healthy, happy, and smart as possible. Building this tower can be downright devastating to our community, and placing it in our schools will have long-term risks to everyone: health, community, money. Now, Kingsbury School, as we know, is amazing. It's just simply amazing for both parents and child, but it won't be if the cell tower is built. Why? Well, I think we all know what an EMF is. It's basically a giant microwave times like 20, because now Verizon, I don't know what you have planned as far as putting the tower and then having other people add to the tower and add to it and add to it. And add to it becomes this giant microwave. If you ever see those towers that are just added, it's like rent. You pay and you pay and you pay and you get to have access to your cell phone, your iPad, to all the luxuries that we have today. So that's the electrical field. Our children will be at high spot considering where the radioactivity is, and also closer distance than what is allowed and permitted. So usually there's a reason why you want the tower to be so far away. It's for cancer, right? So our children will be zapped every minute as they get out of the car, play, learn, and grow. So the minutes are now going to add to hours, that are going to add to days, that are going to add to months. It's going to add to years, and the year is going to add to some kind of internal tumor or cancer. Literally, we're going to be cooked from within. I don't know about you guys, but as a parent, I can't afford to take that risk. My child has no voice, and many of yours, they have no idea what is there at the tower. And like you had said, they're not going to know what to do. They're going to sit there and go, oh, something's falling. That's sound, right? Our job is to do all we can to protect them, which is why I'm really happy to see a lot of you parents here say this just isn't right. Okay, an EMF interferes with our body's natural EMF by your sleep cycle, stress, and your DNA. Creates memory loss, headaches, and low sperm count. Sorry guys, but I don't see how putting the cell tower there and raising our families from another generation to come to school, we're not going to have any generations. We're not going to have kids who come to school because, sorry guys, you won't be able to give us any children because of, well, this program. So Cell towers emit high frequency radio waves that travel 45 miles over level terrain, and school is closer to us, the kids, and us. And therefore, we're at greater danger from an HF, which is the little monitor scanner thing that you measure the frequencies. That would be a lot more than the 1200 frequency. It starts at 300 when you start to get overexposed. So 300 is a lot. When you add the 300 to, let's see, the 1200, that's a huge difference. It's not just like 2 or 3, it's a lot. So this is probably not a good idea, but that's only my thing. So so more fun facts, or of course. All right, remember that it's measured in volts. EMF, electromagnetic field, tower emits 1900 above W watts, so 24 hours, 7 days a week. So our kids are going to literally be in school being penetrated with all of this electricity. And it's a wall. It's not going to keep things out. It's going to keep going through our kids and keep, doing harm. So I don't see how this is okay. They are not regulated, meaning workers die every day, 50-50 chance, because there's nothing regulated. Verizon, I'm sorry, you're not looking over these guys to see if they're doing their job. Therefore, they're climbing, harnessed or not harnessed, they just have to get the job done. So, what do you say about safety as far as the people that are actually risking their life? I mean, I've read and I've looked over for the past 2 weeks since I've had my eyes on this. I don't see the benefit of any of this being this close to school. We are paying for this land, I believe, I'm pretty sure, with our tax money. So now we're paying for our kids to get sick because it's on the land of our school. I mean, I think that's how that works, but I could be totally wrong. That's a question I like to ask. We don't have universal health care, so our kids, we're going to be stuck with this. If anybody decides to leave their kids here because they are uneducated and they have no clue, they're not going to know. And then they're going to be stuck with a kid who has a very bad tumor or whatever. The kid's going to be stuck with a health care bill that now is a pre-existing condition. Will never be insured again. So it's this domino effect. It's not just, one kid or 2 kids. It's going to be a lot. We don't have, we can't afford to pay our kids for the health insurance risk. It's still, I know we can educate our kids with more money, but does this make sense, seeing that this will be one sacrifice that most of us ultimately take a domino effect? Sick kids are our issue. It's not going to be Verizon's issue. It's not going to be the government. It's going to be us. It's going to be parents that have to sit here and deal with our kids who are now sick. And there's been a lot of people who are very educated and going to school who's saying, here are things. There's experts, EMF, that are telling us that this is not a good idea. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, if you can answer any of the questions about safety as far as,
Ma'am.
Yes.
Please address the board. Yeah.
Sorry.
What was that?
Please address the board. We'll answer questions later
Yes,
with the
okay.
applicant.
So I'm just saying, from everything that I'm hearing, all the research that I've done, this just does not, this is scary. This is just very, very scary. And as I was listening to what the gentleman before was saying about you guys can do the research and, you guys, whatever, we can't rely on, unfortunately, the United States Board of, researchers. You have to go beyond. You have to go to, like, the UK. You have to look at other fields because a lot of this, the money is backed. The research that's being done is research that's being done with the cell phone companies. You have to look at independent research, not anything else, because everything else is backed by money. So you will see a revolving door. It just keeps going and going and going. So if you guys will do your research, you have to do it with independent studies.
Okay.
So, but that's basically all I have to say. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would like to clarify just for a minute that this board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, is here to hear the application of the Verizon and the property owner, who happens to be the township. We are not the proposers of this. Dwight, we are going to be making a decision on whether it is appropriate or not.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Ivan Levinsky. My son Ryan right here, he goes to Kingsbury, and I'm concerned about a few specific things related to cell tower.
Okay.
I have some questions for Verizon. I don't know if I just ask you those and maybe get the answers later.
Yeah, if you ask your questions now, and then we'll have them address everything at the end of the public hearing.
I'll start with my direct question for Verizon. The first one is, your workers, are they clearanced to be around children?
Please address the
Oh,
board.
sorry, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
thank
Yes.
you.
Are the Verizon workers clearanced to be around children? Because they'll be, there will be times they'll be 90 feet away from a child. So that is a concern. He's setting maximum of once a month, so we have to just assume the worst. Once a month, there will be their workers within sight of our children. So that's my first question. Second question, Verizon mentioned that the road will be mostly still wooded except for driveway. That sounds great. But what about the school? The backyard and the playground where my child plays will be right against the cell tower location. Will they be flattening the entire area to put it? How many trees will be left? Will it be like 2 trees and then a tower? Or will be most of the trees are left and just the minimum taken down? Would like to know that.
Okay.
And what kind of tower is it? And this might have been mentioned if people were talking about, is it a tower like you have here? Is it the less structured and with the, what do they call?
Guy wires?
Yes, guy wires that hold them up. Is it that style? And I would like to see a diagram of the RF spread from the antennas. So what the actual plane looks like, and what other incidentals that may actually be directly hitting my child. I would just like to know that. Because I do know that the intent, I would believe most of the RF will not be hitting the school, and but there may be some of those that are very high intensity. I'd like to know the power of the amplifier, and possibly the type of antenna used, and then the frequencies. I assume it's going to be the 2.3 gigahertz, 2.5 gigahertz. I'd like to know that. So, what I'd like to say for myself as a parent is, if you've been to Kingsbury or know what it looks like, or if you've been to Addison Township's website, it has this very beautiful rustic look to it. And I think that pulls in, like this gentleman here, he bought a house recently and he's building some land because it's a beautiful area. And when me and my wife went out to view Kingsbury School, the first thing we see is a gigantic cell tower, regardless of health effects or falling. We see that tower, and just, even if it's just idiotic thought, we're not going to the school. And how many new parents are going to think the same thing? And how long until people no longer care to go to this school, and we have to shut the door before my first child, who's in here now, will even graduate? So that's a worry of mine, that this school will lose people. As Tiffany has said that she would consider already leaving and her kids already in. So that's a legitimate concern of mine, that in the future they will have problems. And I was concerned about the fall zone. I think Kara Jane mentioned that as well. Is my child's playground part of the fall zone? Kind of like the passenger seat of a smart car is the crunch zone for the driver, because that's pretty scary. So I would not drive a smart car and put my kid in the passenger seat, because I know that if I got a side impact, my son would be saving my life. I would never do that. So I feel like this is a similar concept of the fall zone.
Okay.
And I just think the cosmetics of having this huge cell tower 90 feet from the playground. I mean, I would not buy a house if it was the neighbor's house was a cell tower. I wouldn't. and it has nothing to do with health effects, proven or not, I see a cell tower and I don't want to buy it. If I see a well drilling, if I see fracking, if I see a warehouse, what's the warehouse? I don't want to be near any of that. I live in a rustic area. I forgot to mention that. I don't live in Addison Township. I live on Hadley Road in Ortonville. And I think Goodrich is actually my school zone, but just for the record, and I was supposed to say that first, so. But that's all. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ron Liddell, 2673 East Oakwood Road, Addison Township. I thank the board for their time tonight and their attention to the issues at hand. I'm not a great public speaker. Please give me a little bit of time on this, and I may be very nervous at this situation.
You wrote a good letter.
I had help, so I'm not saying I didn't have help. I did the best I could with it. On that letter, I would like to address that too. I believe that I definitely have shown in my 2 written submissions to the applicant and township fails to meet the legal standard for the granting of the requested variance. I would request that each of you acknowledge that you have received and read both letters dated June 6th and June 7th, and if you have not, please read them into the record now so everyone here has the information.
Both letters are in the record.
I would also think that if we could review some of the portions of the letter, that would be a good thing too. If you could do so, Mr. Davis, read some of the letters, positions. I think the audience would like to know a little bit of the things too.
As this is a public hearing, we would recommend you give us your comments and your points of interest, and I think we'll let the letter be in the record for anybody that wants to review it later.
Okay, so they can review it later. Okay. Well, if I'd like to, can I turn this around for also the public a little bit so they can see?
Certainly.
I know you guys have pretty much familiarity with it.
Yeah.
In addition to the ordinance legal issues this tower poses, I have questions and statements to you as governmental body representative of our community. Why does the leadership of the Addison Township believe they should violate their own ordinance for wireless common communication facilities placement lot sizes by asking for this variance to be put on a 5-acre parcel they own when the minimum required is 20 acres? The ordinance was adopted only 4 years prior and was duly worked on to address a lot of issues that would pose. Why don't or didn't they especially consider the dangers of exposing children to the possibility of cancer or injury that this tower would bring to the school children? I want to note, I work as a validation engineer for an automotive electronics supplier. I perform environmental testing that includes EMC, electromagnetic compatibility, which includes RF, which is radio frequency, and EMF, electromagnetic fields, along with radiated emissions on and from samples under test. Please note, it should be understood that a child's own cellular and body growth is rapid, and degrading effects of waves of RF and EMF could cause issues within a few short years. We have had over 30 years of cellular communication since 1993. There should be many detailed studies by now, but there aren't. I don't think we need to or should create a test case study here by placing a tower within 150 feet of the school. Do you? Why doesn't Verizon believe it wouldn't be better to service customers by placing it in the Mulberry Hills Golf Course property or another site more centered like the golf course? From my understanding, there has been many people willing to accept it on their property, and that And we could, excuse me, we would not be exposing children to the possibility of cancer or injury, or readily see the tower by anyone. Some issues noted in and not in the documents of the filing. The address of the property application is 5020 Hosner Road. Why is the placement of the driveway access on Oakwood? The property was obtained by the township in 1861. Alonzo Kingsbury, son of the first Addison Township supervisor, deeded the township a parcel of land. A few years later, a log schoolhouse was constructed on the site. It was named for Kingsbury. The first structure burned to the ground shortly after opening and was replaced in 1868 by the frame structure that is still in use today, a 149-year-old schoolhouse. As it was a donation, is there any restrictions on its use? Was it donated only to include a school and cemetery? Has the title and its attachments been reviewed? This is a piece of history we're talking here. We don't want to disrupt. It's a rural community. We should keep the rural community. Supervisor Pearson stated in a December 2016 meeting Verizon came to him and was negotiating with the township for this particular site, Hosner and Oakwood. As he has also said to me, Verizon wants this, in quotation, Verizon wants and picked this site. Why then, on the Verizon site plan that is exposed right here, does they were really looking to have it be near Jonathan Hosner. Stated right here on the west side of here, it says Jonathan Hosner. So that would have been more the ideal location they were looking for, rather than the location that they're asking for today. Also, in that December meeting, Supervisor Pearson stated that the tower would be placed completely back in the corner. That is not completely back in the corner. But nowhere in the meeting was it discussed, mentioned, or reviewed by any concern of what the effects of the tower and its emissions itself would be on the children or the possibility of failure of the tower would have been on the children, or the effect of the loss of the historic or rural character in the area. The entire focus of the meeting was on the cell tower was money and income. The township submitted last-minute information, more like a direction to accept the proposal, on May 30th. Not allowing the public to review it with enough notice, since the notice of the meeting was placed over a month prior on May 10th. Even though I did send a letter updating my letter that I found, since I found out that update was put in there. Why does the zoning ordinance have only a 300-foot notification distance from an affected property? They should add a 0 to this, to be more inclusive to the surrounding affected area. This limitation is not fair or proper procedure to allow people that would want to be informed on changes of their locality, especially in areas of 10-acre minimums, what agricultural zoning is or surrounding this parcel. As the width and length of a 10-acre parcel can be anywhere from 200 to 1,200 feet or more, depending on the configuration. Thereby only including the property that directly abuts the property. Why was this distance not expanded to include more? Was this put into the ordinance to reduce conflict and participation? The township and Verizon are trying to place a Mack truck on the area the size of a postage stamp. That contains mostly wetlands that could possibly destroy habitat and breeding grounds of endangered turtles, snakes, birds, and other wildlife, violating the intent and letter of the 20-acre minimum for any cellular tower placement and the wetlands in the zoning ordinances. Why has the township not reviewed the impact on the wetland habitat? Have they conducted an EPA wetland study? As to the monetary aspect, Why would Verizon not want to include the community in their annual payment for the tower if it was placed at the golf course or another site within the township? There's nothing that would stop them from providing this addition to the amount they paid to the golf course or another site. As to the safety and security of life, this tower would not benefit the community at this location with reasons stated of the school is too close and the poor location of soil conditions, among other factors that I mentioned in my letters. As to the visual aspect, no one would be seeing this tower so easily if it were at the golf course. However, multitudes of people will see this every day if it is placed at the lot next to a kindergarten school, as it is proposed to today. As to the fact that this area, and to the fact that this area is agricultural and of a very rural and historical character, a cellular tower does not fit. Please reject this appeal and decline this site as ever to have a cell tower placed upon it. I'd like to show a few descriptions. I'm sure they'll point up their maps too about cellular control, cellular towers and stuff like that. But this is the map of the current cell towers that are surrounding the area. This is the, excuse me.
Look at how useful I am.
Thank you. The red dot right here is where the proposed is, and this is one I have been able to recommend because of the input from the golf course. I'm willing to have it located there. It's not very far, as everybody can see, and if you look at it, it's pretty central to everything else. Now, they have proposed, as you see here, Jonathan and Hosner. Jonathan and Hosner is right here. So it's not that much a difference, either way. And the coverage, as I'll show you, makes a big difference. This is a little closer of that view and shows the distances of it. Thank you. Turn it right away. So this will side out. This is a map from opensignal.com where you can see any dropped calls. As you see, all the red zone lit locations are surrounding what? The golf course. There's few up here, but that's very minor considered. If you place a tower here, you will capture that. But if you want to go to where Jonathan is, which is right here, where there's lots of red dots right here, they could do that too if they want. But if you ask me, they're not going to reach to where they really need, which is all this red area here. There's a lot more use down this way near a golf course. Do you figure? You know, because it's going to give you a lot of people down there. There's a lot of more people living down this way too. As more rural you go, the less you'll have. Topography of the site. I've mentioned that in my letters also. The topography of the site is so poor, it's all wetlands. And I can't really, I drew on this one before. Here's Kingsbury School. Here's the site they're talking about. As you see the green, that's wetland. Here's the golf course. No wetlands. Very high. The topography is about 200 feet higher than what this is, giving you a more clear view, which is what Verizon wants. Clear line of sight gives you the best output. This is some failures of towers in the past I've pulled off the internet, where a poor bottom base, like a wetland area, would cause this. High winds would push it right over. Here's another one where it's failure right at the bolts where it mounts it. That could be caused by corrosion over years. It could be caused by wind shear, whatever. My engineering coming into play. And this one straight up. Sorry. Yeah, I know you can't see. And obviously there's other possibility of fire because it is electrical, and anything can happen with shorted electric components. And I took the photos of turtles I found on the property, One's a snapping turtle, and I couldn't really identify the other one. But these are constant around the area. As everybody sees on the roads, they've got to avoid them as they cross the road to go lay their eggs. So there's quite a few in that area. That's all You got it.
Those documents have already been added into the record. We each have a copy of them, so
Yeah, I
that's
think I
right.
got them up there. So, in closing, would it not be in the community's best interest to decline the cell tower placement at the requested location of Hosner and Oakwood next to the kindergarten, school, and playground? I believe it is. As it is has too many negatives and very few positives at this location. If it doesn't fit the required location, if it doesn't provide safety to our children at the school, if it doesn't fit the character of the surrounding community, if it doesn't fit our ordinance, history, needs or wants in this area, if it doesn't fit, you must quit trying to make a square peg fit in the round hole. I request the zoning board to decline and reject this tower placement on poor fitting location that would risk too much for so little. As I stated earlier, the best fitting and beneficial location would be the golf course or another willing and in line with the ordinance location. I thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to point out at this juncture, given some of the comments, that the state law governs when we have to send our notices out, and the state law governs the 300 feet distances.
Yes.
And this township has taken a position that as long as you get material to us up to and including the day of the hearing and at the hearing, we get it in the record. So all the supplements, all the letters, anything that came in today, which there was some stuff, we make sure it gets in the record up to and through the hearing, until the close of the hearing.
Correct.
But the 300 feet, sir, it's a state law.
Okay, I wasn't.
That's okay. I just thought I'd point that out, so.
I didn't get a notice, and I was very close to the location. That's what was mine.
Yeah, it's kind of a one-size-fits-all, that for any variance request, it's 300 feet from any boundary of the property is who we have to send personal notices to.
Can it be expanded?
State law. Yeah, they said it. It's in the Township Rural Zoning Act that tells us what we have to do.
So that's not a minimum, it's what you have to follow. Understood. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
He wants to say hi.
Okay.
My name is John Thompson again, and we went through this not too long ago. The state police put the towers in. I can't remember the township supervisor's name at the time, but they worked something out. They put it in the gravel pit off of 32 Mile.
Okay.
And I don't know, maybe you could look back and see what they did. But they might have had to make a 397-foot tower or something like that. And it was for their communication system. And they ended up in the gravel pit. And they might have had to make the tower taller because of the elevation involved. We had hearings and stuff at that time.
Okay.
And they were going to do what they wanted to do if something wasn't resolved.
I remember that. Thank you.
Can I add one thing? I think I want to say about 12 years ago or more, there was a request to put a cell tower, I believe, next to Leonard Elementary, or something along that line. And that's what I'm kind of trying to remember. There was something along that line that was discussed and rejected back then. If you could please review the record on that, I'd appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. Ma'am?
Hello, my name is Shauna Rubinsky, and that's my family right now, I'm right there. And let me just say, when we drove up, my 3-year-old said, "What's that?" He saw that cell tower. There are several problems with the placement of the cell tower, as we're hearing. Zoning issues with the ordinance, and that it's too close to the property line. This cell tower will personally affect me and my family. I implore you to go sit at the playground, look at that beautiful tree line, And just imagine what it would look like with the cell tower. So when they tell you that it's out of sight, it truly is not out of sight. It's right there for the children and the families to see. And I have to say, my husband stole my argument that the workers coming to work on it, they don't have clearance. This is something I'm thinking about as a mom. You know, I worry about these things. And the proposed spot, I would say, is not like the one here. This is city, there's buildings here. We're looking at a spot that is just filled with trees and natural beauty. And then also someone just pointed out that we have power outages in the area, which we wouldn't get cell service when that happens. So that would be another issue for them. And that's really it. I think everybody spoke very well on this issue, and I really hope that you would look at this for all the families here, and really appreciate it. I'm glad my children can see this process because they do appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay. Ma'am?
My name is Ann Susanis. I live on Huff Road in Dryden. I'm not a Addison Township resident, but I taught the environmental education at Kingsbury School for over 30 years. And as a part of my being involved with Kingsbury, I came to your park board meetings and I went to a lot of the hearings that you had to make Watershed Preserve become a park. So I don't live here, but in a lot of ways I felt like I do. I have a lot of concerns about this issue, and most of them have been covered already. Your ordinance says minimum lot size 20 acres, and that will make a safe and appropriate plot size. And yet, here the applicant is now suggesting it be put on a 5-acre parcel. That's a big stretch. The other thing is, it's being placed in between a wetland, and you mentioned so many good things in the wetland, and I think this might be a Blandings turtle, which is very cool. But also, some time ago with students, because we used that area, we witnessed sandhill cranes displaying in that wetland, which was pretty amazing. Also, on that hillside, on that slope, there's turkeyfoot grass, which is a tall grass prairie species. And it's not that it's endangered, but it's special. It's special, and it's part of our history, as people have said. So on the one side, you've got that wetland, and they did take into account the setback of 25 feet, but it's still a wetland. On the other side is this elementary school. The edge of the playground is only 90 feet from where the tower's going to be. That's very, very close. And the base of the tower may not show, as it says in some of the information, but the rest of it will, even with the 6 to 7 foot evergreens. So I find that a big concern. Another concern is the health and safety of this tower. And it's been mentioned many times now, the impact of this energy is not definitively known, but it's definitely suspected. I've read many studies on this. It's definitely suspected. Kingsbury School has over 250 students now. And we're talking about long-term exposure every day of the week. Out on the playground, the building is not that far away. After school, families in the area use the playground. They use it on weekends. There's going to be continued exposure. And I don't think I don't think we can afford to have another oops like we've had with the environment so many times. I don't like tobacco and flint water. This is regular exposure, and I don't think we want any folks, children, adults, anybody, to be guinea pigs for this. I think that tower, that concerns me. Also, as far as safety is concerned, I've read in the description that there would be a fence around it. I'm assuming there would have to be a clearing. around that to some degree, and I can't help but think that this seems like an attractive nuisance in a way, because it is so close to a school. And then finally, I'd like to think a little bit about the aesthetics and the history, which have also been mentioned. Kingsbury has been teaching environmental respect, awareness, and appreciation for over 40 years. That's a big deal at Kingsbury. The kids recognize a lot of the birds that fly overhead, they see the plants, they know the connections, that everything in the environment is connected. We teach them the history of the area. Mr. Pearson came in and spoke to the third graders at one time about the history of Addison Township. The cemetery, the history of the area helps to give children a sense of continuity with the past. Because that cemetery, as you mentioned, it's a historic cemetery, it's a pioneer cemetery. There's folks there that were born in the 1700s. There's a tremendous amount that we can learn from it. And I think that that tower is a potential distraction. Also, in your ordinance about towers, it says the ordinance seeks to retain the rural character of the township, the aesthetic quality, to minimize impact on the natural beauty of the area. This is one of those natural beauty areas, as we have so many areas in the township. And I would hate to see it downgraded in any way. So I urge you to deny this variance because it doesn't fit with what I know about Addison Township having so much foresight in the watershed preserve and in some of the other things that you have saved and made available to people in this township. So I thank you very much for your time, and I strongly urge you to deny the variance. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Yes, sir. How you doing?
Hi, my name is Tom Mexi, 4931 Osner Road. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I'm a school principal and we see a podium and it just draws us. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. A lot of good arguments were made and I would reiterate them regarding the aesthetics, regarding our environmental program, regarding how close it is to the school, regarding the safety of the students. I will piggyback though on the fact that was brought up. This is an area that if the wind blows just a little bit, we lose our power. We are always in that zone that loses the power. And as a Verizon customer, I would hope that there would be a little bit more reliability since they said that all they need is an electrical line in that area. And lastly, I want to say, the school came before you maybe 6 years ago. We wanted to sell a small parcel of land, 20 acres, but we couldn't get past the ordinance. I think it had to be twice as wide as it was long or deep or vice versa. And we came back 3 times and you guys stuck to your guns and said the ordinance is the ordinance. And we ended up having to configure the parcel we gave away, and it was 25 acres instead of the 20 we wanted to, but it finally met the ordinance requirements. I ask you to stick to your guns and don't put a cell tower on a piece of land that is 20% the size that the ordinance requires. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, sir.
My name is Matthew Papsdorf. I've been in Addison Township my entire life. I do not like public speaking, and I am here because my concern is the eyesore of this piece of property I live on now. I can see 2 cell phone towers from, and they are very far away. My question for Verizon is, why do they not consider the 265 acres a half a mile east that is currently for sale with no house on it for a location for their cell phone tower? Why are they choosing Addison Township public land instead of land that they could purchase for their own use.
Okay.
I really don't want to see a cell phone tower near that property because I do not find them attractive. I'd also like to point out that the trees that they're saying will be along the road only have leaves on them for 6 months out of the year because it's Michigan. So you will see that cell phone tower being grown for 6 months. So, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, sir.
Recording secretary has a...
Yes, ma'am?
Matthew, can you spell your last name? Pattsdorf.
Okay, let's make sure that everybody else is going once first before we repeat.
So, because I didn't realize the whole wetland, the whole like, it's by wetland, you know, the earth is warming apparently, and it's getting worse and worse. You have ice. Like if you had said, you know, it fall down the playground, if it's a big ice storm and it's a little weight, you know, it's just more of a hazard. So I think you guys should consider that as well, the weather, and it being a wetland, how much will that, you know, have an effect as far as falling or an accident, or more people coming to fix things or not,
Yeah.
you know?
Impact on the wetlands, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She makes a good point as far as ice falling off the tower and hitting children on playground.
Anybody else would like to come up and talk? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Catherine Carroll. I am a Addison Township resident. I live on Leonard Road, and we also own property on Haven Road. So I get two I'm a parent of a child at Kingsbury. I'm going to try not to get emotional. I want to point something out nobody else has, and the applicant pointed out the necessity of this tower and stressed the fact that in 24 months nobody will be able to use their phones without this tower. I have a brand new phone. I got it last week. I used it at Kingsbury today. I texted, I checked my email, and I spoke to my husband on the phone. I just want to put it out there that a cell phone tower is not a necessity, and it's not a location. I do understand there are drop calls in that area. Maybe they need a different provider. I have Verizon as a provider. Maybe they need different phones or different providers. I just don't think it's a necessity when it can impact our children. Most of what I have has already been discussed, but the township code states there's no adverse impact. That cannot be proven to any parent of that school right now. It can't be proven by any studies because they're not out there for that length of time. As a couple other people already said, the standards are put in place for a reason. I ask that you don't allow an extreme variance of 75%. The standards are there, please stick to them. The Addison Township Code also says about the aesthetic quality of the community. There are trees on the Oakwood Road, there are some on Hosner, but if you are not familiar with this, I would ask that you do just go look. Look at it from both roads, look at it from Hosner, look at it the Idaho playground. Look at it from the road. There's beautiful horse farms there. We don't want cell phone towers. Someone did mention about the historical site. I don't think it's registered as historical, but this is a one-wing schoolhouse. I ask that that's considered. They're looking, that one's already talked about. The Leonard Elementary one, a few years ago was mentioned. I know that one was denied. I did not look up the record to see why. I do ask that maybe that's reviewed and see. I would be surprised if there's something more favorable about this location than there was about the Leonard location. I know another location was found for that one, so that was my that's basically all I have that wasn't already discussed, so thank you. I strongly urge you to deny.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else have something to add or ask?
You know what, I'm gonna stay up here too long and listen to everybody else, and I have to say something. My name is Debbie Renaud, 2673 East Oakwood. This tower is going to be right across the road from my home, okay? If anybody is familiar with that terrain, that terrain is not flat. It's a hilly terrain, and from my house, okay, I can see the hill that's in the pier, okay? This cell tower is going to be right in the middle. So that's, I mean, I don't understand Verizon's claim that this is such a superb location. You're down in a valley. I mean, everybody keeps talking about wetlands, wetlands, wetlands. Why are there wetlands? It's wetlands because it's low. That's why. So, I mean, I understand that they seem to feel that this is a good location. I hope that they don't think that this is a good location because it's township property and they have dealt with the township before. I hope that they don't feel that this is that this piece of property is an easy fit because of that. As you have already heard, we have a historical school there. There's children right there. I mean, we have a playground 90 feet away from where their tower is going to be. I know people in that area, further north, okay, by Jonathan Road, where the initial plan was, that is willing to accept Verizon onto their property with a tower. So, you know, with all that being said, you know, you have the aesthetics, you have the health of the children, you know, you sit there and we've talked about the health of the children and these waves and everything else, and you look back and what was nicotine back in the 50s and 60s? Nobody knew about the health hazards of nicotine. And, you know, there hasn't, I don't think, been enough studies done to this point to determine what the effect these waves are going to have on these children as they're out there playing. And, you know, it's a bad fit for that area. So, once again, I mean, like everybody else here, I would ask that you deny this. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, maybe we could ask just one more time, is there anybody who wants to enter a comment to this record or a document?
2 documents.
Okay. Oh, we have some documents to enter to record, okay.
Did you have a record?
Do you guys want this?
Okay, these.
No, not if you said it, not if you said it.
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Okay.
We had a petition at the school, which has been signed and submitted this evening, of a bunch of parents, all who do not want this at that location.
Make a comment. The documents that have been added here are already a member, in the public record, both these documents, so we're all set. Yeah. Underneath? Okay. Okay, the petition, yeah, all right. All right, good. Okay, yeah, so letters are in, we'll add the petition into it as well. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, on the side of questions that you asked me, you gave me an assignment to keep track of the questions. It would seem to me that we need to hear from the engineer for Verizon. There was a series of questions that I think if I were to summarize some of them, it was what kind of tower is this? What is the RF spread? What is the amplifier power? What is the frequency? What is the fall zone? What are the chances things could blow off of this? And what are all these distances? And I think that they did say they had a engineer I think that some of those questions need to be answered.
Okay. Let's finish up the hearing here, and then we'll ask the applicant to address those. Okay, anybody else that would like to speak to this topic? Yes, ma'am.
Can I submit my notes to you guys? May I submit my notes for the record?
If you would like, yes.
I would love
We
to.
will certainly add them. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody else would like to talk to the subject? Yep.
Before we close the public hearing, do we need to?
Well, I'm going to read off what I have a list here of somewhere. Where'd I put it? Okay. Now we've got things out of order here. There it is. List of comments that have been submitted to the township, either by mail or in person, besides the meeting tonight. On this case, 1702, Mr. Ron Renaud has submitted 2 letters, I believe. Amanda Matilla, dated June 6, 2017, has submitted a letter. Lori Posey, dated June 8, 2017. And Candace Leguest, which we have a copy of here as well, June 8, 2017. So those will be available at the township for review if anybody wants to take a look at them. So, all right. This time I'll close the public hearing. It'll be 7:36, and ask that the applicant and representatives please address some of the questions that have been brought up.
Good evening. My name is Michael Avery. I'm the representative of Verizon Wireless. I've been with the organization for 23 years. My address is 24242 Northwestern Highway, Southgate, Michigan. So I'd like to address some of the comments and concerns that were brought up by the audience and the board members as well. And I think, John, you took some notes, so you can kind of guide me and make sure I don't forget anything. Because there were a lot of questions that were asked about power levels and antennas and structure type and everything. So where do we start?
What kind of a tower is it?
It's a monopole. So it means it's just a straight up pole like you see right outside here.
Does it have guy wires?
It has no guide wires.
Does it have antennas?
It does have antennas.
How many antennas are
There
planted?
will be approximately 6 at the top for Verizon.
And how are the cables run in the
It's
tower?
fiber. It's all fiber now.
cable?
So there's no coax cables.
And at what frequency does it broadcast?
1900 megahertz, 2100 megahertz, 850 megahertz, and 700 megahertz. Those are the licenses that we own to operate in this area. That's maximum.
Cellular, PCS?
That's, well, 850 is cellular. We own that, and we currently operate on that. That's our primary 3G technology, operates on cellular, 850. LTE 700, that operates at 700 megahertz. So everybody that has 4G, it's operating at 700 megahertz for Verizon. 2100 megahertz is known as AWS, but it's also essentially an LTE technology. It's just at a different frequency. They're all LTE. Even the PCS frequency of 1900 megahertz, we're using that for LTE. It's just the same technology used at different bands that we happen to own. We don't own just one huge contiguous band, so that's why we had to buy all these different bands that are at different frequencies.
Safety close to the towers, power drops, we hear some...
Power drops exponentially as you move away from the tower. I have extensive training in EME exposure. I wear, I've been up to rooftops where I've been extremely close to antennas, and what we found is that once you move away from an antenna about 5 feet, the risk of exposure goes down to almost 0. And then as you get further, there's really no risk at all. We're in compliance with all federal guidelines as far as EME exposure is concerned.
Safety for employees, your employees are trained?
Employees are trained, the tower crews are trained. The tower crews do not work for Verizon Wireless directly, they're contractors, so they specialize in climbing towers. We don't have our employees climb towers at all. It's not something that any employee of Verizon is certified to do.
They talked about being an attractive nuisance. Is the tower climbable? Does that climbing pegs?
Not until you get very far up. I think it's 20-some feet. Is that correct? I don't remember right now.
30 feet, that's what.
Maybe 30.
So the children won't be able to climb the tower? As long as they go blue by 6th graders or something?
No, sir.
Okay.
Has there been any experiences where debris blows off of these towers?
Not in my experience at all. Working at Verizon, I don't have any recollection of any time one of our towers in our area has lost an antenna or anything that's blown off that we've noted.
Ice?
I haven't heard of any reports of ice damaging anything around a tower.
I'm sure. The ice damage, if I may, John Crane again. The ice damage that everybody talks about is when it builds up on the guy wires. And the WDIV down on 10 Mile and 9 Mile, the big wall towers for television. The ice builds up on the guy wires and then runs down the guy wire and falls and does damage basically in the parking lot. That's why they have ice breakers on the guy wires. We have not had any incidences on a monopole with this type, with ice issues, and we put them in parking lots, we put them on schoolyard properties, never had an issue. So I just point that out.
So I think power levels are also brought up. Currently, CDMA, which is 3G, a channel operates over about 1 megahertz of spectrum, and that's a 20-watt amplifier. So in the 3G world, the signals you receive is about 20 watts per megahertz, and that's the power spectral density. In the LTE world, they utilize a much larger bandwidth, 10, 15, 20 megahertz of bandwidth, so they spread their signal over a much larger range. So the power spectral density of LTE signals is much less than 3G. So instead of talking 20 watts per megahertz for 700 megahertz LTE, it's 6 watts per megahertz. Same with 850, it's 6 watts per megahertz. For AWS, which is 2100 megahertz, it's about 2 watts per megahertz. 1900 PCS, we are at 4 watts per megahertz. So that's the power spectral density. That's why the LTE technologies don't necessarily cover as well as your 3G technologies, because you have the signal, it's the same amplification, but you're spreading it over a much larger bandwidth. It's sort of like if you have a hose and it's coming out and the beam is very concentrated. Well, you can spread that water over a much larger radius, like if you pump it through a sprinkler. It's the same amount of water, but it's going to cover less distance.
So the people are talking hundreds of watts or thousands of...
The maximum amplification that we have through a single amplifier is 60 watts. That's maximum. And it goes up into an antenna. The maximum gain of an antenna is approximately 16 dB. So you could be adding 16 dB to those 20 watts for your output. For that 60 watts, I should
That's
say.
root D squared or RMS?
It's decibel. Watts convert to decibels, and the decibels add together.
We heard talk about the frequency of power outages and interruption of service, both to Kingsbury School and the residents. Is there any provision in the site plan for that? Generators? Do we have a generator on site?
Are we going to have a generator?
Yes,
We usually do.
backup generator.
We usually do. We
Yes.
usually either have diesel or propane. I'm not sure what is provision for this. Propane? Okay. So every site we build has backup power, it's either diesel or propane. This one evidently will have propane.
Can I add to that question?
Minimum. I'm trying to pick it up. There was talk about environmental impacts. Do we do any NEPA, National
We do
Environmental
NEPA.
Protection? That will be submitted and reviewed?
Yes.
And as part of that, do we look at impact on historic structures?
Impact on historical structures, they have to go through a tribal commission, which is a Native American commission that examines every new structure that we build, and they determine if we are impacting anything significant to tribal grounds, and if we are, then they have a say in our build process as well. It also looks at Birds too. Is that
Animals, plants. And we bring in experts as part of our application in each of those areas to do it. The question arose as to the noise of the generator. Yes, they do make noise. It's not unlike a household generator. It's for backup power at your home. It's exercised once a week for approximately 20 minutes. We will work with the city or the township to determine what time. Being close to a school, I don't think we want to do it during school hours. We'll probably do it on a Saturday morning or even a Sunday morning to exercise it. If it's running full-time, everybody's glad it's running because we have a problem. There's no power. That's our answer to it. It takes approximately, and I can give you the exact specs, but I want to say 55 dB at 20 feet away on hard surface. We have that spec. So this is on grass, it will be less dBA noise levels. That's your home generator. That's basically what it is. It's not anything unusual to that. I've gone through, I did note your environmental concerns at the school. I had the privilege of working with them many years ago on an environmental issue at the school when they were building the bridge with the timbers. Probably 10 or 12 years ago. We believe we will have no adverse impacts. Oh, the question is whether we check out our employees. We're a big company. Every employee has a police check. I can't verify what the history is. It's very confidential, but it's not anything unusual that you would not see at any other employment whatsoever. There was mention that there's a building there, they might take the children in the building if there's a bad guy there. There is not a building, it's all open and all exposed. There's no building, no closed doors. The equipment is placed in cabinets. People who work on it on the cabinet, stand outside and open the door. It looks much like a traffic control box at a signal. Steel box, 4 feet tall, so on and so forth. But there's no building, no closed doors. And we do vet our employees, all our employees, carefully. That's not to say that there might be some confidential history. I do not.
Contract workers too.
That's all our contract workers do, yes.
All the contract workers are police.
They have to go through
Background checks.
from their employer.
From their employer, and they're certified to it.
You sure of that? You sure of their background check?
Excuse me. Yes, we do background check everything. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I think I've answered the question. I will go through the transcript if there's anything additional we want.
I have a couple more points, I think, unless Mr. Davis would like to go ahead.
Sure.
Sir, the public forum is closed right now.
Can I just ask one question? I already asked, but they didn't answer it. It's very important to me, the tree line. You didn't mention what will happen to the tree line for Kingsbury.
I was going to get to that.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Please let us finish
Okay.
answering your questions, okay?
Can you guys, one of the questions that was raised was twofold, was the clearing that would be necessary, and you're gonna stay out of the 25-foot natural feature setback, and will your foundation or your development impact the wetlands at all?
We will have a wetlands consultant review our design, do a wetlands study. We use Chief 2 out of Troy, Michigan to do that work. They will do a mitigation and control plan for the area next to the wetlands, and we will not impact the wetlands in any way, shape, or form with our construction. And so it's substantially more than just putting up a silt fence. And during construction, the project is monitored also by G2. They'll have someone on site several times a week during the construction period. As far as clearing, we show it on the site plan. The total leased area, but the only area that we're going to clear is right around our compound, which is approximately 40 by 60. We have not inventoried every tree. We show them in general, and we are not going to be taking those down on the property line.
Mr. Crane, could you show the board what you were showing?
Oh, certainly.
I'm looking for dimensions, site plan, Mr. Crane. Is that what this is here?
That's what this is.
Okay.
The leased area is 100 by 100, and we're at about 30 by 50, 30 by 60 is where we're going.
Okay, give offset dimensions. Where's the tower going exactly?
Tower, here are the offset directions down
I'm
here.
sorry, where is the proposed tower going?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The tower is going 90 feet, 200 feet, 224 feet.
Okay, super. Do we have that on record?
Yep.
Why we have that?
Yeah, we
Should have a copy yet.
Why don't I have a copy of that?
We've had several inputs to this. Please, sir, wait until.
I can see that you get one. I have an actual with me, or I'll leave this.
As long as somebody has.
We'll make it part of the
share
record.
time, that's fine.
The last note that I took, Mr. Chair, was speaker number 2 raised an issue about radiation and radioactivity, EMF. I wasn't sure if it was electromotive force or electric magnetic field, either one.
Electromagnetic field, we refer to it as electromagnetic energy. It's something that Verizon Wireless takes very seriously. We make sure that we comply with all federal guidelines regarding EME exposure. We have to be below the federal guidelines for every single frequency that we transmit on. And we have to prove that anybody at ground level, anywhere that somebody could approach our tower, cannot exceed any type of federal limit for EME exposure on the frequencies that we operate at. Not only our frequencies, but anybody else that comes on the tower, we have to take into account their contribution as well.
So accumulates for different carriers?
So if we just come in here and operate at 700 megahertz, let's say, and then we turn up 2100 megahertz, obviously that is a contribution to the overall power levels coming out of the tower. So we take into account everything.
So the exposure of an individual next to the tower on the ground, it has to be less than the government standard?
Yes. And typically, just to give an idea of what, a fairly strong signal on the ground is minus 75 dBm, meaning minus, when you go into decibels, when you talk about power levels, when we say minus, it means it's below 1 milliwatt. So it's fractional wattages. So minus 75 on the ground level is a pretty good strong signal. And in watts, that would be a decimal point followed by 10 zeros, then followed by a 3. That's the power level in watts.
That's like fairly light bulb.
It's just, because people hear, let's say you're operating at 60 watts, and they think, well, they're going to have 60 watts on the ground, but the electromagnetic energy decays at an exponential level. So even if you're operating at these infinitesimal amounts of strength, your mobile device still has enough sensitivity to be able to pick that up and to be modulated and to receive information even from the small amount of signal.
What level of wattage is emitted by your cellular device?
Well, cellular devices themselves, let's see.
Perspective.
They could, let me do my watt converter here.
Can you hear me now?
I knew that was gonna come out tonight.
So your cell phone is still less than 1 watt. It's about 0.2 watts.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're talking about exposure at the tower is?
At ground level at the tower is like 10 decimal places of zeros in front of that.
So this is many times more powerful than that.
Right, so you here with the phone is like, what are 10 million, let's see, 100 million times more powerful in watts.
Okay. Put it in perspective, I see that.
That's all I wrote down, sir.
Okay, I have a couple other questions that were put in here. One is, why is the driveway going on Oakwood Road instead of the address which is on Hosner?
Well, number one, every one of our cell sites has its own designated address.
Okay.
We will have a Oakwood address for this cell tower. Exactly what it will be determined by Detroit Edison and your fire department.
The property has frontages on both roads.
Yes, it does. It loops around and so on. So the driveway to go to the other way would be more intrusive and much longer and less efficient. And then there was also actually a request of the township that we incorporate a parking, if we were going to go ahead with this project, we incorporate a small parking lot for servicing the cemetery area.
Okay.
And that was the reason why we ended up there.
Another one I have written down is, why is this site better than either the Jonathan or others that have been considered? Jonathan?
Why is this the best site?
Why is this site better?
This may be a little bit difficult to see, but this is how the Verizon wireless network looks today. Every pie that you see here is a transmitting location, meaning it's a cell tower that transmits our frequencies and our customers can utilize. This area here is where our proposal is located. So it is located centrally between existing cell sites, one to the north, one to the east, and one to the west. And it is located in an area of poor service as well. We did not want to go really east at all because you're starting to run into an area that has pretty good coverage already east of there. And there's really no need to waste our resources trying to serve an area that already has decent coverage.
The Jonathan area was north of this?
Pardon?
But the Jonathan Road area was north of what we're proposing here?
They're asking if the Jonathan Road area was north.
Jonathan is north of here. You advised me to go to the south of Jonathan.
Yes. So under my advice, we did go to the south. The golf course is here. So it's labeled on here. You can't really see the label, but my finger's right on it. That's the golf course. I don't want to go to the golf course because I don't want to move this any further south and risk losing any additional coverage that we're gaining to the north. The golf course will be lit up sufficiently once the site is on here. They will have perfectly adequate coverage there. One thing I noted in visiting the area, traveling to the site itself and looking at the property is that my phone rolled down to 3G only. So 3G is fine as long as that service is still available, as long as people still have phones that utilize that technology. But 3G has been around since the mid-1990s, and sort of how analog had to go away because analog was inefficient. 3G is now inefficient in today's data world, so that's why every single carrier is moving to 4G, out of necessity, because people are using their phones for data, not just making phone calls. 3G is fine for making phone calls, but horrible at data. 4G is great at phone calls, great at data. So the 3G equipment is no longer being manufactured, there's no longer any replacement parts. It's being phased out by every single phone company, not just Verizon. The sunset for that is by the year 2020. It should be widely out of service throughout the United States. So it will be a 4G only, basically, country, not just Verizon. So
I think that's kind of understood.
it's understood. Now,
We're more concerned about the local.
Sir, please.
Okay.
Please, I don't want conversations between the applicant and the audience.
so this
now.
this location was chosen because we know that once 3G goes away, there's going to be a significant loss of service here. We also know that E911 services are already compromised in this area. We want to remedy that and make sure that people, when they do have to use their phone to dial 911, that they are able to do so and be able to reach some type of dispatch to help them. These are, some of the things that we take into consideration as well as what type of customer complaints we've received in the area, what type of data our drive testing tells us. So we have people whose job it is to go out and test our network, and we drive through our network and they show us where the deficiencies are. This was identified as a very important area for us to remedy because of some of the conditions that I've outlined. And so this was put on high priority for a build plan to be able to maintain adequate, reliable wireless communication services for the community and the surrounding area.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, do we have a copy of the current coverage and what would be the resulting coverage?
I doubt it. I doubt that you do.
And
I think this is probably the first you've seen of it.
Okay.
So if you would like
That was
copies,
interesting, yes.
send out, we can provide those.
We will leave it, and we will also provide 8.5 by 11s.
Okay.
As long as our site plans are.
Okay.
I'm looking in relationship to the improvement of the cell tower after, if it was to go through. And I still see quite a good size to the northwest that's not covered.
Right. Up here.
Yep.
Yep. And there's some work down here and here. And so we have limited resources. We don't have the capital to cover every single white space. So we go to the ones that are deemed most important, meaning, what do we see? What communities do we see are going to be affected? What does our group, we have a specialized group that strictly deals with customer service issues and how the network performs. They have a significant input into this process as well. And they'll tell us, hey, we have problems in this area. I know that there are customer service issues in this area. And they help to determine which of these sites, you call these coverage sites, because they're essentially providing increase in coverage where perhaps there is no coverage. They have a significant role in determining where these sites are placed as well.
Okay, thank you. My other question in perspective relative to elevation. Is it true that a tower, if it's up 500 feet higher than the surrounding elevation, that you're going to get better coverage?
In some sense, well, 500 feet is a bit of a stretch.
Okay, well, just entertain me. Higher. Yes.
Generally, if you go 30% higher or more, you'll start to notice a difference in coverage.
Because around here, the elevation is just all over the map, as you know.
Yeah.
So, where I live at Hosner, south of Lakeville Road, we have towers nearby, but just the ups and downs, of course, with the topography, they just can't do nothing about it.
Well, you can see that on the propagation maps as well. You can see that there's an area here where it goes red and white, and then you get out here, and all of a sudden, you should be able to make a phone call out there. Well, why is that? They went up in elevation where they have a better view of the tower.
Okay. So in retrospect, elevation is relative to reception, yet close proximity may not be?
Close proximity, not as much.
Okay. That's...
There's sort of a balancing act. If you have your tower too high, you could reach out for, let's say, 5, 6, 7, 8 miles. Your mobile device will never hear, the tower will never hear the mobile device. The mobile device will never be able to contact with the tower. And so your mobile device is thinking it has a signal, and the tower is saying, power up, power up, power up, power up. And your mobile device is at full power just screaming, and it drains your battery in like an hour. And so we don't want that scenario.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not good to just propagate out as far as you possibly can. You're just killing neighbors. They go nuts. They think they want to communicate with the tower. They keep trying to, and they're hot. You pick them up and they're hot, and they're like, what is going on with my phone? Well, it's screaming at the tower. The tower never hears it.
And you're proposing a limit height of 195?
Yes, and we do that because we realize that communities don't want a lit tower. So this takes away any possibility of the tower being lit. Of course, we still go through FAA scrutiny. The FAA has the final determination on our tower height. And of course, if any lighting is necessary, we don't anticipate any lighting for this tower.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I think you started to address, and I'm not sure if it was covered fully, is how much clearing is going to be done on this land in order to put this tower up, or would be done.
The driveway, of course, coming in, and then the area right here will be cleared.
Okay.
This is the lease premises. This is 100 by 100.
So that 100 by 100 would be cleared?
No, the 100 by 100 what's gray will be cleared and probably 5 feet outside.
Okay, so maybe 50 by 60,
That's what
70
we're at,
feet?
40 by 60 is what
Yeah,
we're
okay,
at.
all right. Okay, to answer
Thank
the
you.
question that you had.
I will leave this with you.
Is that a retaining wall that'll have to control the elevation there in dark?
There is a retaining wall right along here, so we do not affect the grades.
Okay.
We will not be clearing this site. We're bringing in tight right around our site. Here, we're doing a cut section for our road, then we're doing a fill section here for our platform. The rest of the site will all be maintained as grades.
So you won't require any more area than that for the equipment to erect this tower?
No, oh
Where could I go to see, if this was completed, where could I go tomorrow to see a site that would look like it?
This type of pole?
Yeah, area.
no. 3 miles north,
Pardon me?
Watershed Park.
Watershed. So,
That's it.
It would
If
be-
anybody wants to see one, go there.
yeah, okay.
Exact project.
Okay,
Chairman, I got a question here.
certainly, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, what sparked my question is you talked about not being lit, this tower. You are aware there's a private airstrip?
We are aware of that. To the southwest, about 1.5 miles.
Exactly. I know that resident isn't here, but you have...
We are very much aware of it.
You're aware of that?
So we go through the FAA, and also NDOT has a say in it as well.
Michigan Toll Structures.
Yes.
We do that also. And he will be notified and so on, but we check the glide slopes and we're outside of it.
Okay.
Okay, and this would be noted on the aeronautical charts as well?
Yes. No.
Not it won't be registered.
No?
The tower, unless it's lit, is not registered.
This will
We
not be
make an
registered.
application to the FAA studies and a registration requirement. We make an application to Michigan Aeronautics, they check the glide slopes, they contact the airports. The FAA does not. Michigan Toll Structures does. They will come back and say, not registered, not required to be listed. It will not be on the pilot registry.
That's what I thought. That's why I brought that up.
That's what we anticipate.
Okay, thank you. And the members of the board, anything I'm missing on the questions that have been asked? Or any questions we have?
I got one more question. There were a lot of comments made from parents from Kingsbury. Did anybody speak officially for Kingsbury here?
Yes. Principal.
Are you the principal of Kingsbury? Yes. Okay, I missed that part. Thank you.
Just a minute, please. Anybody else on the board have any more questions for the applicants?
Well, I guess I'd like to make the observation that we are all right now being bathed in EM radiation for cell phones. People have cell phones, we're getting cell phone signals right here. 24 hours a day, wherever you are.
I'll break protocol just a little bit. I think we had another question from the lady in the back.
I do. It's actually a really important question. Or because all the research that I've done on this whole cell phone tower next to a school, and any cell phone, it's not even a school. It's just like, for example, Verizon. Verizon's the one who wants this cell phone tower for profit and to make money and to make our lives easier, which is great. But they have yet to take responsibility with private contractors who actually fall their debts. Like, there's no responsibility, but yet you guys are saying, oh, we're going to take a look at your surrounding, your beautiful tree line. So we have all these organizations that help us. Where are the people that are, with these families? So my question now is, I'm thinking about that. Now I'm thinking about our kids, our school, and what if it falls? What if the tower falls because of the wetlands? What if the ice comes down, wind blows, and it goes flying into our playground because our kids go outside even when it's 2 degrees, 4 degrees, if it's still okay for them to go out. The question is, if it's an act of God, are they going to take responsibility for the fall? Are they going to say, you know what, it was, or are they just going to say, it was an act of God, the wind blew, it was an act of God. It was, the wetlands just built and built. When will it's going to stop? Like, this is not, to me, This is not okay. So my question for them, if they can answer the question, is do they take responsibility for towers falling? You know, I would love to hear their view on that.
All right, these are things that we're going to be taking into account. We will consider the failure modes and the whole thing. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose taking a recess if we could.
Yeah, anybody opposed to a 5-minute break here?
We're done on this issue, you're gonna recess before the next issue?
We can do that. We're just about, I think, ready to wrap up on here. Unless anybody can think of anything else, we've got to go. We've got a couple minutes here. I think we've covered pretty much everybody's questions here. Some questions were put in a different way, but I think we covered the gist of everything that's been asked. And I appreciate it because I'm not sure I would have thought of all those questions myself. Very educational.
Do you have an estimate of how many cell towers there are either in Michigan or Oakland County or the U.S. or?
I know in Michigan, for Verizon only.
All right.
I don't know globally, but Verizon's on approximately 1,700 structures in Michigan. That includes rooftops, water towers, any type of sign.
1,700 for Verizon only. Okay, thank you. Michigan only, Verizon only.
That's Michigan, Verizon.
Got it, thank you.
All right. I think we beat this for as much as I can think of to do right now. We're going to table the application for variance, do our own due diligence, study, look at any new evidence that's been presented to us, and be back here next month, be July 13th for a decision. Okay, before we go to the last case, I'd like to take a short 5-minute recess, a little potty break if we could. And, thank you very much. Okay. Call the meeting back to order, and next item on the agenda, and we apologize for the lengthy wait, is public hearing case 1703. Applicant is William Thomas. John Inshow is the owner of the property. 555 Monadic, Leonard, Michigan. Property address same as above. Parcel 0527178012. Zone R1, residential 1. The applicant seeks a variance from the Township of Addison Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, Addison Township zoning ordinance for the placement of an expansion of an existing accessory structure in the front yard. Article 4, Section 4.21, number 3B. An accessory building shall not be located in the front yard. Accessory building located in the side yard shall meet the side yard requirements of the district in which the accessory building is located. An accessory building located in the rear yard shall not be located closer than 5 feet to any property line. And a variance for placement of said structure completely beyond the front yard setback line, which is 50 feet according to the ordinance. Okay. Applicant, Mr. Thomas or Mr. Inchon, whoever's representing this case, please let us know what you got.
My name is William Thomas. I'm located at 524 7th Street, Rochester, Michigan, 42307. Have you generally had a chance to visit the site and see the location of the current garage that's currently there? So it gives you a basis. It's a small 12 by 19 garage. It's been there for longer than the applicant or anybody else has known. I heard, you know how long it's been there? Longer than you. So a long time. If you guys went up to the site, you saw they were extensively renovating the house that's on that property. The goal is to then take that garage and to enlarge it and then match the same aesthetics that we built onto that home, onto the garage itself. The garage mainly serves as a lake storage for all the equipment for the boats down by the water and for any vehicle storage in the single bay. The upstairs would be just a more or less unfinished loft at this point with some potential for eventually using it for an area that like a small office or more storage upstairs. We're going to double the size of what's currently out there. We are limited going west by the septic field itself that is currently within that front yard setback. The distance from the road will basically be increased, but the road which fronts the garage actually is not technically a road any longer. It's part of a easement for Mr. Janowski's property. The road stops about 12 feet or 14 feet beyond that up here, and that's where the end of Mantic is actually located. That goes to a private easement beyond that his two homes and the end of Mr. Janowski's property is located on. So technically it doesn't even front the road, it's more of a fronts an easement, but because of that, it's still within the front yard setback. It doesn't affect the lake setback. We are in the lake setback as we renovate the garage. That portion will be in the lake setback, but the current structure already is in that location. So this area in yellow that's within the front yard setback is what we're going to expand into. It does meet all the rest of the ordinances as far as site coverage goes, as well as the height ordinance. We fit within both of those. It just comes down to just being located where it's at. The biggest hardship we did face on this property is there isn't any other location to utilize for the garage. This whole area in the center is all septic field. As you go back through here, you're into the side yard setback and the rear yard setback where the garage can't be located, and the hill drops off pretty significantly across that back elevation. But of course, all this area is all lake yard septic field as well. So that's about the only location. We would never attempt it if it weren't already existing in that location, but the fact it's already there, we're going to try to expand it and make it as usable as we can for the client.
Okay. Would it be possible to annotate the drawing with where the actual septic location and well locations are?
There was no county record, so I don't have, I could do it my own.
I understand.
This is my surveyor, he did it to his best of his ability to create that. So I can identify it on there and submit that if that helps you guys.
Any information would help you.
Yeah, it's 10 feet off this corner, will be where it is, and then 10 feet from this way, it's about 15 or 18 feet off the road, so almost in line with the front of the structure, and it extends all the way back to about the center line of that big addition we added back there.
Where's the well?
The wellhead, John?
It's actually on the west side of the house.
Okay. Right.
Southwest corner of the house.
Right. Okay, Mr. Thomas, you're representing Mr. Ingram?
Yes, yeah, and like Mr. Insko to speak as well. John, have John come up and speak as well?
Oh, no, that's fine. Just want to understand the rules.
Sure, yeah. No, I'm the architect on the project.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add to your presentation?
That's my...
Do you have an elevation on this? Okay, so this is a...
The two end elevations are identical.
It's proposed to be story and a half, 2-story?
Correct, story and a half, yeah. With the dormers, 2 stories, but story and a half.
There is a public hearing on this, correct?
Yes.
There is a public hearing coming, yes. Okay. Probably a good time to open it up for public hearing, and we can continue our questions. Same rules apply. This is a public hearing. We're going to listen to any inputs, and we'll try and address any questions between the applicant and the board after the public hearing closes. So anybody that would like to address this issue, please step forward. Public hearing is open at 8:25.
Good evening. I'm Herb Janowski. I reside at 510 Mantic within the 300 feet boundary of the requested variance. Actually, I own 2 properties within the 300-foot boundary. I am wholeheartedly in favor of granting the variance. The applicant has done a magnificent job remodeling the current house on the same site. He's using an accomplished architect who has designed multiple fine residences on Lakeville. The builder he is using has a reputation of first-class work, of which I can personally attest to, and has built several notable houses on Lakeville. In my opinion, what Mr. Insko is doing and wants to do will only enhance the value of mine and all properties in the immediate area.
Okay. Did the secretary get your name, sir?
Herb Janowski.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir, please.
Hi, my name's Gary Galbraith, 570 Monadnock. I'm also within the 300 range of John's place here. I just want to say, John has made amazing improvements on the street directly across from me. For years, it's been a lot of wild bush and a lot of, we couldn't even see the lake from where we're at, from my garage and everything. He's done a fantastic job of cleaning up the yard, trees, and the house is beautiful. He's putting up across there. I really don't see, as far as the structure itself, there's no way it's going to impair anybody's vision on the street. I think it's in a real good location, and I would highly recommend you approve it.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your input. Anybody else? Okay. Seeing none, close the public hearing at 8:27, and open up for any questions, comments from the board to the applicant.
I don't have a question for the applicant, I have a question for my fellow board members. If this were not a lake lot, would the applicant be here for a variance? And I think all the board knows what I'm referring to.
Oh, yeah.
The front yard's the backyard, and the backyard's the front yard, and a few other things that should have been changed years ago, and hasn't been, but, so here we are. So my question to fellow board members is, if this was not a lake lot, would the gentleman be here asking for a variance, or would it be perfectly legal?
Well, the front yard would be from the driveway out, correct, to the roadside?
Yeah, it'd be backwards, you're right.
So the backyard would be back over here on the south side.
Yeah, the lakeside would be the backyard instead of the front yard.
Something I don't have here, I have the zoning on this property, but I don't have the parcel size.
What's your front door, Mr.
Question?
Front door, be located actually right on that wall.
Not that it really has anything to do with it, I'm just curious. I remember, I went there today, I don't remember where it was at. It's on that porch along
It's
the
on the porch
garage,
alongside
right?
the garage. That was a challenge to the design because the elevation changed to fall off that side, trying to actually get a proper front entrance built for the home.
Yeah, I know those lake houses are tough.
Yeah,
It's design.
Just for the record, what's the official acreage or size of the property?
Size, but total square footage is 24 and a half, so 24,500 square feet. So that's
Okay.
approximately less than a half acre.
I think anything that's there, or anything that's proposed, it's not non-conforming.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's, I mean,
Not non-conforming, it's okay.
yeah, technically it's within the lake setback, but yeah, what else?
The present structure is within 25 feet of the lake in the natural feature setback area, is that correct?
The present shed, yes.
So that becomes non-conforming to our current ordinance.
Correct, it does. But as an existing structure, right, that's being recommended as a question.
The addition you would put on there is totally without the 25-foot.
Well, beyond the natural feature setback, correct. That area in yellow is the new addition. This dotted line coming through here is the natural feature.
Now, in order to add to this, do you have to raise the old building?
We did, that's something that we went through with Doug. It's mostly because the whole road itself comes down and actually empties right into his garage. It floods with every heavy rain. So it's as much of a maintenance issue, raising it up as it is a
I'm talking raise, like take it out.
Oh, yeah.
Remove it.
Right. The foundations are in good shape. We're just going to raise the opening of the structure up and push the finished floor up about a foot. So, the course is about 16 inches. To try to get some positive drainage away from the structure so the water isn't flowing back into that as it works its way down to the water. But the foundations haven't moved. Actually, for once, an old structure that actually were properly installed many decades ago.
Do you know when the home was built originally?
1988.
Oh, okay, so it's fairly recent.
Yeah.
88 was just the same year as the new book of ordinances came out.
It's actually one of the few lots on Lakeville Lake that's actually conforming as far as lot coverage, site coverage, setbacks, mostly for the residents and all. fit with them.
Yeah.
I would just like to say the structure was there years before the house was built in '88.
I was gonna say that.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
I can structure the house.
Yeah, I know the original owner there, he used that as a place to hang his head before he was doing construction.
It's hard to find a piece of property around a lake that hadn't had a cottage on it for many, many years.
For sure.
Board members, anybody, Tony?
Well, I have not been out to see the property, but I will do that before the next meeting.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see.
I visited today.
Different angles, and I agree, it doesn't obstruct any view. The only thing it would obstruct is maybe your view. But you improved that already, you even had some trees removed and all that. I think you're enhancing the area quite a bit. Yeah, no obstruction of view at all that I could see.
Yeah, looking at the satellite view, there used to be a tree overhanging the present garage, and that's been removed not too long ago. Still see evidence on the shingles. Any other information that we would like the applicant to bring back or add to the record that hasn't been provided?
The thing I can see, Mr. Chairman, is maybe a elevation shot of the grade from the road to the building for the record. I think it's
Surveyor, just have him pinpoint those grade heights.
well, I think you do a cross section of the road, the apron coming up to the garage doors.
Proposed or existing?
Proposed.
Okay, sure, no
Yeah.
problem.
I don't know that it would need to be even. Yeah, just proposed.
Sure.
Elevation.
And probably in the same section, I can show where it's at today as well, just for reference. Show you how we're gonna improve it, try to get that drainage to be properly established.
Okay. Any other questions, input? Quiet down here, Bob.
Yeah.
All right, as with the other cases, we'll take everything we get in
So you'd like
evidence.
me to resubmit a site plan showing the septic field as well as your.
Yeah, if you could bring those to the township, we'll be notified when they show up.
Beginning next week.
On July 13th, we'll meet back here and
Very good.
have a decision. I appreciate your perseverance. It's got a long night. Okay. Next item on the agenda is page 2. Correspondence received. We've gone through all the correspondence pertaining to the cases that we've had here. Other than that, I know of none. Zoning board reports, any issues?
Planning?
Planning for, no, the zoning board ZBA report. Any issues? I don't think we have anything going right now. Planning commission liaison.
We're gonna have a meeting next week, and not much exciting, but we're finally gonna meet, so maybe something will happen.
Okay. We're getting closer on the septic issue?
Well, that's gonna be discussed at the next meeting, yes, sir.
Okay.
That and some roads. Yep.
In Lake District?
Not yet.
Oh.
Okay. Now that almost all of our public has left, we open a public forum, not a public hearing, for anybody that wants to address anything pertaining to the zoning board of appeals.
Do you have any complaints about John?
We have our public here. Any comments, questions?
Make a motion we adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, public forum is closed.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second. And seconded to adjourn. All in
Aye.
favor, please say aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed? None.
I mean, none.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.